That's the real power of a library. It doesn't just give you content, it gives you assets that can work in multiple places for multiple people at multiple stages of the journey. I'm Clint, and this is Creativity That Converts, the show where we unpack the art and strategy of using video to grow your business. This is the space to learn what's working, what's changing, and how to create content that really connects. No fluff, no ego, just real talk that gets results. Welcome to Creativity That Converts. In the last episode, we talked about how content gets easier once it has a system. And that really is the shift. Because for most agents, content feels hard when it's random. It feels hard when every video starts from scratch. It feels hard when you're constantly trying to work out what to say, where to say it, and whether it's even worth doing in the first place. But once there's a system behind it, something changes. And today, I want to show you what that system can actually look like. Because one of the biggest misconceptions in real estate marketing is that you need a huge amount of content to stay visible. You don't. What you need is a small, well-structured library of videos that can support everything else that you do. That's the key. Not more content, more coverage. Because when most people think about content, they think about it one post at a time. What should I post today? What should I film this week? What do I need to put on Instagram? And that's usually where the pressure starts. Because if content only exists as individual posts, it always feels temporary. It always feels hungry. And it always needs feeding. But when you shift from thinking in posts to thinking in a library content, that starts working differently. Now, instead of constantly creating, you're building assets. You're building a body of work that answers the key questions your market already has. Questions like, who are you and what kind of client do you help? What is it actually like living in your area? How does the selling process work? What mistakes should sellers avoid? What should buyers know before they make a move? What happens if a home sits on the market too long? How do you approach pricing in your current market? When those answers exist in video form, clearly and strategically, they stop being content and they start becoming marketing infrastructure. And that is a very different way of thinking. Because now your videos are no longer just there to fill a feed. They're there to support your visibility, your trust, your client education, your referrals, and increasingly your discoverability in search, both AI and old school. That's why a small library matters. You don't need 100 random videos. You need a focused group of videos that cover the conversations that matter most. So let's talk about what that library can actually look like. At the simplest level, it's usually somewhere between 12 and 20 strong videos. Not because there's something magical about that number, because it's enough to create real coverage without just being overwhelming. And those videos would usually sit across a few key categories. The first category is identity. This is the content that helps people understand who you are, who you help, and how you work. This might be your authority profile, your philosophy around service, why you work in the area you work in, what kind of clients you're best suited to helping. This category matters because people need context before they need trust. The second category is local expertise. These are the videos that show you actually understand the market you operate in. This could include suburb or area deep dives, videos about who certain locations suit best, price point breakdowns, what different budgets buy you in that market, common lifestyle considerations for people moving into that area. This kind of content does two things at once. It builds trust with people, and it sends a very clear signal to search and AI systems that you are relevant in that market. The third category is process. This is where you explain how things actually work. Buying, selling, pricing, negotiating, preparing a property, managing expectations. These are the videos that reduce confusion and build confidence. They make people feel safer, and in a people industry, that matters. Then you've got decision content. This is often some of the most valuable content in the whole library. These are the questions people ask when they're close to making a move, but not quite there yet. Things like, should I sell now or wait? Is now a good time to buy in this area? What happens if my home doesn't sell? Should I renovate before listing? How long is this likely to take in the current market? This is the content that helps people move forward without the uncertainty. And then finally, you have proof. Not bragging, not chest beating, not fancy cars. Proof. Real examples, case studies, breakdowns of how a sale played out. What challenges came up? What decisions got made? What the outcome was. This kind of content matters because people don't just want promises. They want evidence that what you're saying is true. And once you have a library like that in place, something interesting starts to happen. Every other part of your marketing gets easier. One longer YouTube video can become multiple short form clips. A video explaining pricing can be sent to a seller before a meeting. A suburb deep dive can support someone who was referred to you by a past client. A process video can answer a question before it ever needs to be asked to you directly. And now, with AI search increasingly surfacing answers rather than just links, those same videos can also help you get discovered by people who don't even know your name yet. That's the real power of a library. It doesn't just give you content, it gives you assets that can work in multiple places for multiple people at multiple stages of the journey. And importantly, it means you're not relying on one platform to do all the heavy lifting. Because platforms change, algorithms shift, formats come and go, but a strong video library will always hold value. It still explains, it still educates, it still reassures, and it still builds trust. That's why this approach is so much more stable than trying to constantly chase what's working this week. And it also explains why short form works better when it's built on top of something deeper. Because now short form doesn't have to do all the work. It can simply point towards answers that already exist. A 30-second clip about pricing can lead back to a full explanation video. A quick insight about relocating buyers can lead back to a broader local area video. A short thought on seller mistakes can point people to a much deeper breakdown. Now your content starts working as an ecosystem. Everything supports everything else. And this is the exact point where video stops feeling like a marketing extra and starts becoming part of your business and starts becoming part of your business development system. Because instead of asking, what should I post today? You start asking, what question do I want this library to answer for people that I most want to work with? That is a far better, far smarter question. It leads to better content, better targeting, better trust, and of course, better outcomes. Because at the end of the day, the goal isn't just to be seen. It's to be seen by the right people for the right reasons. And when your library is built around the questions, concerns, and decisions of the audience you actually want to attract, that's exactly what starts to happen. You stop creating broad content for everyone, and you start building targeted content that speaks directly to the people you most want to work with. That's where video truly becomes powerful. Not when it's everywhere, when it's aligned. So if you've been feeling like marketing has been too scattered, too reactive, or too dependent on constantly producing more, this is the shift I'd encourage you to make. Start thinking less about posting. Start thinking more about building a library and educating. A small strategic library of videos that can support your search, your social, your client journey, and your authority over time. Because once that exists, everything else gets way easier. That's it for episode 27. If you're unsure where video can best support your marketing in real estate, or you want to have a conversation about how to use video more strategically to get seen by the people you actually want to reach, feel free to book a strategy call. We can talk through your market, your audience, and the kind of targeting approach that makes the most sense for your business. All the details are in the show notes. Thanks for listening. Have a great week, and I'll see you on episode 28.